inside my DNA. I just win again, then win again, like Wimbledon I serve. Yeah, that's him again. The sound that engine in is like a bird. You see fireworks and Corvette tires skirt the boulevard. I know how you work, I know just who you are. See, user. Your hormones probably switch inside your DNA. Problem is, all that sucker did inside your DNA. Daddy probably snitch, heritage inside your DNA. Backbone don't exist, born on side a jellyfish I gauge. See my pedigree, most definitely don't tolerate the front. I've been through probably a
KBLA Talk 1580.
I know murder, conviction, burners, boosters, burglars, ballers.
It's all in there. Inside your DNA, it's all in there. Yep. Phone lines are open, 800-920-1580. The chat room is open, KBLA 1580 on the YouTubes. And we are freestyling today. A lot of freestyling today. If you got something to say, now's the time to say it. Gates down. Matt Gates down. As Tavis said yesterday, and we've seen it. There's all of the, pontificating and speculating about it. Matt Gaetz, who resigned from Congress to try to stop his ethics report from being released, and was picked by the president-elect to be the Attorney General of the United States, has withdrawn from consideration. And Rachel Maddow did an incredible segment on how the report can still be released, and how resigning from Congress or even withdrawing from consideration for Attorney General should not and has not historically protected a member of Congress from being held responsible through transparency. So I'm looking forward to, not really because it seems like it's going to be disgusting, but I think he still should have to face the music even though he stood down. And it's classic MAGA crybabyism that he's unfairly had to step aside because it's unfairly unfair that I have to face the music for what I did. The president-elect, remember we had this conversation, I'm trying not to say his name very much, and it's important. Bernice King made this point, Dr. King's daughter, that it's not just him. It's a whole movement. It's the Heritage Foundation. It's the authoritarian, new, and unimproved Republican Party. And they all need to take responsibility. Even if he who shall not be named, the 45th president, has a superpower of I can lie and cheat and be a sleazeball and a grifter and still get reelected. He may have that magic power, but it doesn't mean the entire Republican Party does. And so they all need to share in the accountability for the impending disaster so that we can be clear about who's responsible. Not just one puppet, not just one talented puppet who knows how to make you believe and overlook your ethical and moral compass and your standards, but the entire mechanism, the whole enchilada, as they say. So anyway, now he's picked this lady named Pam Bondi, and I just want to say that this theory that Matt Gaetz was meant to make everybody else look better, and then the president-elect can breeze through his picks, I don't agree with it. I mean, maybe that's what they meant to do, but if you dig below the surface for just about any of these would-be nominees, they're all pretty sleazy. I mean, Gaetz may be I was going to say the only child trafficker, but that may or may not be true because of what we're finding about this Hegseth dude, who apparently is also a rapist. And who knows, if he has child trafficking. But, you got all kinds of other things. This Bondi lady, another Fox personality, even though she was Attorney General for the state of Florida, she was also on Fox a lot. In fact, she got in trouble for hosting Fox shows for consecutive days while Attorney General. That's said to be an ethical breach and something that had never, ever been done before in the history of the state of Florida. Was not favorably received. She was supposed to be looking into the fraud of Trump University, how he ripped people off under the guise of teaching them how to be rich like him. And she dropped that case after he donated 25 grand to her election campaign. So, I mean, that is actually illegal, and it is something that was supposedly under investigation in the state of Florida, but nothing ever came of it. Doesn't mean it's not a crime, as we saw with Gates. So, again, normalizing to make the future nominees look better is only a valid premise if we don't really look into who these other potential nominees really are. Okay, how to get that out? Because I know there's a lot to talk about on the national scene. But look, I'm also here for the reparations conversation and the lineage conversation. The heritage, the ancestral investigations, I think are so important and something powerful that we get out of this reparations movement, whether we ever get a check or not. And I believe we will. I believe we'll get the checks. And it's not just the checks. We'll get the legislation. We will get land back, restitution. At some point, we can get to the point where the promise of non-repetition really means something. Not there yet. All of these pieces of reparations, the debt that is owed to us, the unfinished business of the Reconstruction and the Civil War, the real accounting of what went down in America when it comes to the robbing of our wealth, not just through the theft of labor, but through the actual seizing of our lands, Jim Crow, the terror that our communities, that black people have been subjected to in America for so many generations. I believe we will get there, but even if we didn't, for some unforeseen reason, the fact that we're now digging into our family histories, reconstructing our genealogical history, our family tree, and as Dr. Briggs said, sharing that, not just for ourselves or our own families, but for the kind of universal database, which will inform AI. I'm wary about that because we know the tech bros who control a lot of that stuff right now are racist, and so putting our data in their hands doesn't necessarily always create the outcomes we desire. However, Dr. Briggs has a good point. When we share, we can find our connectivity through the DNA, through our own family trees, and we will learn unexpected and important things. And the patience and the realization that everything is not always going to be on their census sheets, and their insurance company logs, in their plantation registries and schedules. A lot is there, and it's worth pursuing. But that is not the whole picture of what happened in these United States and the adjacent enslavement locations. I'd love to have you call me about any of this, but certainly if you're sitting down to a family dinner or hanging out at a party with your loved ones, relatives, this is something very productive, creative. There's an ancient Yoruba saying, which I love: are you going to build or are you going to destroy? Are you going to build or are you going to destroy? And if we want to build, if we're about building our families and communities, perhaps we should have genealogical conversations. Get some, whatever that oral history. Like Molly Bell said, look in the Bibles, your family Bible. See if you can get your hands on the older ones that may have notes inside of them. And reconstruct everything we can, because if we have conversations about politics, I'm not saying you can't do it, but you may end up destroying. I know I might. I don't want to hear it. If you supported your own destruction or the lack of safety for my children and grandchildren and my own self, I really don't want to hear your justifications and your sorry excuses. I will listen. I'm always here to listen. 800-920-1580. But is that what I want while I'm trying to digest my food? Not so much. Let's go to Dee calling us from Long Beach. Good morning, Dee. Happy
Good
Friday.
morning, Dominique. Happy Friday to you. I should say Dom, as criminal defense attorney Carl Douglas calls you.
Ooh, no, please don't.
Okay, you don't
I
like
only
it.
let him get away with that because, well, I don't want to get sued. I prefer Dominique. Thank you.
Okay.
Or Queen. Queen works.
Queen, okay.
Queen, but it's a
Queen.
spiritual queen, not an imperial queen, right?
Or the other kind of queen.
A drag queen?
Yeah.
I'm not one of those, but I mean, I have nothing against drag queens, but that's not my jam.
Work is work. Work is work, Dominique.
You're saying because I have to get up in the morning and put on makeup, whether I want to or not, that means I'm a drag queen?
Nah, I'm just playing with you.
Okay, good.
I think there needs to be a full and comprehensive audit of the California lottery to make sure it's fair and square. Fair and square. And they need to stop stealing that money out of the budget to balance it. You don't balance your budget on the backs of poor and underserved children.
Okay, so what is it that's giving you this this drive? Is it something you read? Is it something you saw? You've surmised? I know you're really good at math, Dee. What is it that's telling you? Because I feel like people are always going, "Why aren't the schools better? We have the lottery money." But then when I really looked into it, I found that. But I found that
They're
even
taking the money and
even if we were getting all of the money, the amount of money generated by the lottery is actually a sliver of what would be our California schools budget. But I'm sure something is getting you on this trip.
Well, just observation. As a self-taught mathematical statistician, there are tests, there are statistical tests to find out if something is reasonable. All these things should follow a normal or bell curve distribution. So if you have 80% of the people cashing in outside of the hood, that's problematic.
Okay, so what you're saying is we are the ones buying the lottery tickets, but we're not benefiting from lottery money.
Ma'am.
I got you. I mean,
Exactly.
it's someone earlier asked how Shayon, what was the academic and scholarly basis for him saying, someone in the YouTube chat, that most of us are not descendants of enslaved people. So I'm going to ask you the same question. What's your academic or scholarly or your source or whatever that you could share with us?
I don't understand the question, but I think you're asking me what is the mathematical justification for the allegation I'm making.
The mathematical, the data, your source.
The law of large numbers, which has not as yet been repealed. The more samples you take, the more belled or normal the distribution becomes. So if 15% of the tickets are sold in the hood, in theory, 15% of the people should win. That is what we talk about with freedom, justice, and equality.
Okay. So you're using you're just going based on your mathematical model and your common sense.
It's a subjective model, but at the end of the day, you cannot nor will you repeal the law of large numbers. That's it. That's scientific.
Okay. I mean, I would love to see that anyway because, we do know just from our own eyeballs, not a data set, not a study, not even a source. From our own eyeballs, we know that a lot of people in low-income communities are buying lottery tickets. I don't know what percentage, but it seems like a lot.
And we need a penny increase in the sales tax. Mayor Bass is going to need at least $1 billion to solve the crisis. We need to invest in ourselves.
Let's see. According to
even if they won't.
This is interesting. According to the National Institutes of Health, 61% of lottery gambling is done in low-income communities. And that's the lowest fifth. The second fifth is 53%. So that means how doesn't add up. That's more than 100%. But interesting that immediately I'm able to find something to verify what you're saying.
When these brothers play, they play. I see them buying 20 and 30 tickets, and it doesn't improve your odds. The odds stay the same. The odds of Fantasy 5 are 1 in 575,000.
According to the journalistresource.org, increased levels of lottery play are linked with certain subgroups in the U.S. population. Males, blacks, I wish they would say black people instead of blacks. Males, black people, Native Americans, and those who live in disadvantaged neighborhoods. It's a fair point, D. They're taking our money out. Are they putting it back in? That's a fair point. Hold that thought. We are going to continue our conversation about whatever is on your mind, certainly tracking the incoming administration and their shenanigans, but there's much more. We've had some victories, actually, some big victories in policing, even as we've seen an acceleration in murders. All that straight ahead on KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to here with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
We're thrilled to announce that the Dear Future Wifey podcast is now available on the Urban One Podcast Network. This show, hosted by Latiris R. Whitfield, explores the journey of discovering and rediscovering love and relationships. With over 500,000 subscribers on YouTube, Dear Future Wifey has become a prototype for discussions about love and relationships. Learn how to rediscover love, heal, and have faith in relationships. Go to urbanonepodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
We're with Bridget, whose husband won't be home for months, and whose daughter is due any day. We're with Mike, who's leaving home to protect his family and yours. We're with all service members and their families who need community, connection, and maybe a bit of magic. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today.
An official message from Medicare. Couple more minutes and we'll start this month's book club.
You know, I usually love a plot twist, but this year I'm comparing my options during Medicare open enrollment.
You can't assume your current health or drug plan is the best one for you.
And you gotta make sure your drugs are covered. That's important.
So is saving money. Review all your options at Medicare.gov. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yes, indeed. Dee brought up the lottery, but we've got some breaking news here. The New York judge has granted Trump permission to seek dismissal of that hush money case, meaning basically the sentencing in that case has been postponed indefinitely. Now, the judge didn't dismiss it, but it seems that this future of this case is looking rather dim. So if you want to be a criminal and get away with it, apparently the way to do so is to be elected president of the United States. Dee from Long Beach wanted to let you land here. You were talking about the lottery, but I definitely wanted to bring folks up to date on that not so wonderful breaking news.
that was all lost in my mind. But what I want to say, I want to segue to this. The Genesis Center does good work. They do humanitarian work. But we need to stop following these men that beat on them.
Okay, you're off on another, definitely another line of conversation, but yeah, I think...
I didn't know how to wrap it up, because honestly, I forgot what I was going to say.
Okay, it's all good, but I think that's a point, and the same with human trafficking, sex trafficking, rapists, and so thus why the investigation of people like Matt Gaetz and the fact of that report being released and the one on Mr. Hegseth, they need to be released because we're talking about people in positions of power, but also the normalization of that kind of behavior. I thank you for the call. Speaking of normalization, the fascist Prime Minister of Hungary is inviting Benjamin Netanyahu to Hungary as a means of defying the International Criminal Court because it's issued an arrest warrant for that Israeli leader, his former Minister of Defense, and also the Hamas leader that the Israelis claim they killed. Mind-boggling to me that that's the hill Biden wants to die on. That he wants to sit here and defend Netanyahu on the way out the door. And you know, really, a case could be made that Biden also bears responsibility in the war crimes and genocide that are happening in Gaza right now. But the fact that the man who's standing up for you is someone that is pretty much internationally acknowledged to be a fascist authoritarian and who happens to be the BFF of the President-elect of the United States is quite telling. Let's go to Morris from Englewood. Good morning, Morris.
Englewood! Hey, everybody. Look here, I got some shout-outs for some folks in Englewood. I want to give a shout-out to Kathy, first of all. She works at the city of Englewood.
Okay, we don't do shout-outs on my show. This is not 1990s hip-hop radio, Morris.
These people, Dominique, let me tell you something. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. If somebody helped you discover $12,750,000, would you appreciate what they've done for you?
Is it mine? Do I get to keep it?
I'm sorry. No, man. It belongs to the Englewood Unified School District.
Oh, well, okay. I guess for the schools, then yeah. I'd really be giving them a shout-out if it was in my bank account.
I know you would. Then we got Maricel Zambrano. We got Isel Greta. We got Vanessa Davenport. We got
Okay, stop. We're not doing shout-outs. But tell me about your $12 million, Morris, because I know you've been posting about it in the chat.
I've been dealing with this for years. And by the way, I want to apologize to the mayor of Englewood, Dr. James Butts. I want to apologize to to Stephen Ballmer, the owner of the Clippers. Mr. Ballmer gave us that money. He gave us the $12,750,000. Well, what happened to it? A lady by the name of Deborah Waterville, who's the current county superintendent of public education, she took that money that was earmarked for the Englewood Unified School District and opened up an endowment in which 80 different school districts will receive about $25,000 a year. That endowment was created on the backs of our money, and we've been trying to get it back. But these are the folks that brought to my attention. It's been taking me 5 years. I'm very excited about it. I feel like I'm getting towards the end. We're going to get that money for the school district. And sorry, folks, the other folks I want to shout out to, I can't do it.
Yeah, but you can buy an ad. We're always accepting ad dollars, but I'm not familiar with that endowment, and I certainly would love to hear more, Morris, when you find out. How would one person have the authority to do that, to take the $12 million and do that? HW in the chat says, I mostly blame Clyburn for saddling us with the burden of Biden. You could say that. However, at that point in time, you may remember that there was a question about who could actually beat the current president-elect in 2020. And that was not just Clyburn, that was a universal conversation in the Democratic and Republican Party. Many of us believed that person was Bernie, but Biden was the candidate that the mainstream agreed upon. We've got news, traffic, and sports, then more on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. President Biden says the ICC arrest warrant for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is outrageous. The International Crime Court issued warrants on Thursday for Netanyahu and his former defense secretary, accusing them of war crimes in the Gaza Strip. Los Angeles is moving closer to becoming a sanctuary city. Councilman Hugo Soto Martinez says the new ordinance prevents the city from aiding federal immigration officials. It requires a second vote and Mayor Karen Bass's signature for approval. In Daniel Penny's subway death trial in New York, the defense claims Jordan Neely did not die from the chokehold. A forensic pathologist testified that Neely's death resulted from synthetic marijuana, schizophrenia, and other factors. And a coin flip decided the final member of the Mount Clemens Community School Board in Michigan. Rashida Hammond and Alex Bronson both tied with 3,496 votes each. Hammond won the coin toss and drew the paper marked elected. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. I started Blindster in 2010 in my garage after I overpaid for new blinds. I researched the industry, hired my mom, and 14 years later, we're one of the largest retailers of custom blinds in the U.S. Don't pay too much for new blinds. Go to Blindster.com.
Is this the This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers missed 6 free throws in the fourth quarter last night at Crypto.com, and it had a painful impact. Orlando got a 3-pointer at the buzzer from Franz Wagner to beat the Lakers 119-118. The loss snapped the Lakers' 6-game winning streak. 2 of those missed free throws were by Anthony Davis with 18 seconds left in the game, and the Lakers up by 2. LeBron also missed a free throw in the fourth quarter. The Lakers are at home Saturday night against Denver. The Clippers are back in action tonight. They're at home against Sacramento. The Clippers are going for their 4th straight win. Dodger star Shohei Ohtani was a unanimous choice for National League MVP. Ohtani led the NL with 54 home runs and 130 RBIs. He also had 59 stolen bases. Ohtani is the first player in Major League Baseball history to have 50 homers and 50 stolen bases in the same season. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
This season, Chevy brings classic pairings, cookies and milk, mistletoe and kisses, and your holiday plans and a new Chevy. Silverado 1500 gives you power and capability with 430 pound-feet of torque to haul your holiday tree. The Equinox EV and all-new Equinox, America's best compact SUV for new vehicle quality by J.D. Power, offer both confidence and style to see you through the holiday season. It's easy to see why Chevy makes everything better and brighter. Find your red tag. Get 0% APR financing for 36 months on select popular Chevy models when you finance with GM Financial. Chevrolet, together let's drive. Award based on 2024 models for J.D. Power 2024 U.S. Initial Quality Study Award information. Visit jdpower.com/awards. Offer available on all 2025 Equinox and 2024 Silverado, Equinox EV, Blazer EV, and Silverado EV models. Monthly payment is $2,860 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment is 22.2%. Must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 12.
Are you an entrepreneur looking to take your business to new heights? KBLA Talk 1580 is your partner in success. Every day, we celebrate and elevate Black-owned businesses across our community. Our KBLA SMB Marketplace currently features The Cookie Dip, Badass Bakes, Hair Concoction, Higher Education Accreditation Consulting, LACC Radiology Technology Department, and Malik Books. Your business deserves to be heard. Let KBLA Talk 1580 amplify your voice and connect you with our powerful community of listeners. Email smb@kbla1580.com today. That's smb@kbla1580.com. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your flag. Heard any other talk talk radio lately that sounds anything like this? We didn't think so. You're listening to Unapologetically Progressive, KBLA Talk 1580.
And we welcome you in, 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. Just going through some various conversations about what's going on across the nation so we can stay up to date. But I love always for you to be part of the show at 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. So I referenced this in the first hour of the show, but I think we need to keep saying it and repeating it because at this point the media has created a narrative that is not helping us. It's not correct. And that is that there was a landslide. And I've heard this on left and right and even on the phones here. It's true, he won the Electoral College by a pretty wide margin, 312 to 226. But it's also true, as I mentioned in this LA Times story, that in reality, as we're still counting votes, by the way, California's always the last to count votes, and that's partly because we're really thorough and careful about it, right? But Kamala Harris got 48.24% of the popular vote, according to the Cook Political Report, and Donald Trump got 49.89% of the popular vote. So that's a little more than 1% of the popular vote that he had won by. It's 2.5 million votes nationally. And in some of those key swing states that he won, well, the collection of all of them together, it's a little over 200,000 votes that gave him the election. That may sound like a lot of people, you know, if you're talking about tickets to a stadium, but if you're talking about as a percentage of the overall population, it's very tiny. So this idea that, oh, we've gone red, the whole world is red, is just not true. And even though the Republicans won the Senate and retained the House, I was wrong here because when I was looking at the picture, I was still looking at early returns. The picture now shows Republicans with a very slim margin in both the House and the Senate. So even though they have the House, the Senate, the Supreme Court, the presidency, the Heritage Foundation, the extra governmental whatever that is that Elon Musk is doing, even though we have all of that is going red at this point, they've got Twitter, apparently TikTok, it is still not a landslide. And why is that important? Because number one, it's a big ego boost for the new Confederates and the 47th president-elect. Oh, I won the popular vote. I won the popular vote. Okay, by 1%. By 1%. And he's telling a lie that it's the biggest landslide in history, which is absolutely not true. It's not even close. Not only that, it's this idea of a mandate. And the more that we, as progressives, or even if you're not progressive, if you're liberal, if you're a never Trump Republican, or whatever you are, a Justice for all party member, whatever you might be, by repeating this idea that he has a mandate, we make it seem like it's a mandate. And that's a problem because it's not true. And for him to feel like he's got this carte blanche situation is problematic because he does that anyway. He exaggerates, he lies, he makes, and they, not just he, I'm really mindful of what Bernice King said because it's not just him. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene was the one trying to threaten other members of Congress with releasing shady info about them if they didn't back up Matt Gaetz, which is really interesting. I wish she would do it. I want to see that information. But not just interesting for that, interesting that she was willing to publicly threaten her colleagues to back up a child trafficker and pedophile. This is where we are right now. And so it's very important that the American people know that Republicans do not have a mandate. The authoritarian New Confederates do not have a mandate. They may have a win, and I say may because I still think it's some fishy, but I have no proof of that. So let's just say they have a win. But it's not a wide margin. And when we talk about racism, misogyny, white supremacy, yeah, sure, it's foundational to our country, and that's obviously still there. But if we could have moved, and if you're an ally, I put this on you, if we could have moved a small percentage of white women, Latinos, Asian Americans, we would be having a very different conversation right now. We would be having a very, very different country right now. Right now, the white supremacists are running wild. They think, they've died and gone to heaven. They're sending out emails and notes and telling us to go back into slavery and having caravans through Santa Barbara and downtown Ohio and whatever it is. But this is also the F around and find out stage for them, because they're about to find out that they don't have a mandate, that they won by a slim margin, and that even of that slim margin, there are people who are delusional that voted, and there are people who voted for, as the stereotype goes, the price of eggs, or to make their stock values go up, or to put us in our place, whatever the reason is. They're about to find out they have shot their own selves in the foot. They've cut off their nose to spite their face, unless they're part of the billionaire class. But that doesn't help me. You being sad and mad because you made a vote that ends up getting your mama deported, or you being sad and mad because you thought that the New Confederate Republican Party, the MAGA Party, was going to help you financially or free the people, free the black people in prison. You about to F around and find out that doesn't help me. That doesn't help America. We can laugh about it, we can gloat about it, but how does it help us? Maybe it's a wake-up call for next time, but next time is a ways away at this moment. Let's go to Damani calling us from LA. Good morning, Damani.
Good morning, Dominique. I'm calling about what I think we're overlooking is if we can make it happen in the next few days, we're overlooking the power we have to knock the one shall not be spoken, Trump, if you call him, knock him out of being the 47th president and have a black woman as the 47th president. I don't care if this is for 4 days.
Well, I think we have 59 days right now, right? 59 right. days, so and counting.
I like it to be for 47 days. Yeah, because see, what happens is it upsets their program. They dominate the news right now. They putting a bunch of unqualified people in office, and they know they're unqualified, but they get a lot of attention for that. But if
he believes they're loyal. That's what he believes. He believes they'll, fall on the sword for him. And if they don't, he'll give them a nickname and send them packing.
Right. But see, we got an ally. I think I heard that yesterday on I think it was on Tavis's show, that we had an ally in Nate Silver, who also believes that Joe Biden should step down and let Kamala be the president. Now, what I know a lot of people say it's a waste of time, is only symbolic, but symbolism and celebration come together. That now we can lift our spirit, like we said, and at the same time it shatters that glass ceiling for women.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I understand the thought process behind it. I wouldn't be mad at it because it would cause so many waves in our country and cause the chattering class to talk about something other than the fictitious mandate of the red wedding and all of that. But I don't expect that Biden will do that. He's already had to step aside once. I don't see him doing it again. And I'm really disappointed in him at the moment because what he seems to be spending his time on is getting emergency money to Ukraine and defending Netanyahu instead of worrying about defending the American people, doing something to protect our voting rights, even if it is symbolic and temporary, doing something about reparations, doing something about women's rights, like trying to do whatever he can do to protect the infrastructure, the green infrastructure that was passed through the through the infrastructure package. These are the things that I would like to see him doing instead of opining about the International Criminal Court finally trying to hold a Western leader accountable. They love to go after African leaders and others in the East, and they rarely. How about holding France accountable for stealing money on the way out the door after enslaving people in Haiti? How about holding the Saudis accountable for what they're doing in Yemen? How about holding the U.S. accountable for what we're doing in Gaza too? I mean, I don't know, Damani. I hope I'm wrong, but it seems like, Biden should be writing out pardons and sentence commutations until his hand hurts. He should be signing executive orders until his pen runs out of ink. But instead, he's over here talking, smack about the ICC. I don't know. Priorities.
I think he's too traditional for that.
Yeah.
I think Kamala is a lot more. I would think she is a lot more progressive than he is. And I think if you put her in, she would do that because she knows she's only going to be in there for a short time. She hasn't been in there for 3.5 years like he's been in.
And let's think about how long he was in Congress and how long he was trying to be the president. I mean, the guy's got a career longer than most of us have been alive. So, in a sense, he has nothing to lose. It's like, go for it. Do something. Like Michelle Obama said, do something. But maybe he thinks that he preserves more of a statesman-like legacy by doing the norm. I don't think so. I would like to see big, bold strokes. Hold that thought, Damani. We will continue this conversation. You can dial just like Damani did, 800-920-1580. The convo ain't over till it's over. KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
With reported hate crimes rising in recent years, California has responded through outreach efforts across state government and in collaboration with community-based organizations for the launch of CA versus Hate. This non-emergency, multilingual hate crime and incident reporting hotline provides an anonymous reporting option for victims and witnesses of hate acts reported in 15 different languages through the online portal and in over 200 languages when calling the hotline. Report anonymously by calling 833-866-4283. Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. or online at any time at cavshate.org.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code SNAP to get an extra 35 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code SNAP for a 35 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code SNAP for a 35 cents per gallon bonus.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so, as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
When we learn the power of hope, recovery is possible. Find out how at startwithhope.com. Brought to you by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing, Shatterproof, and the Ad Council.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
Yeah, Molly Bell says, Biden is looking after his legacy. Biden hasn't changed. See, now we're talking about Biden, Trump, and Republicans are still the problem. Nothing we can do. Start a written request mandate for Biden. Yeah, okay. I agree, Molly Bell. It is important to remember that Republicans are the problem here. The corporatization of the Democratic Party is also a problem. And those old school mainstream Dems who try so hard to be Republican light instead of leaning into their base, us, the Black people, the Latino people, the progressives, they don't super serve their base. Maybe they will. That's the lesson. Not try to move away from identity politics and try to be whiter and more conservative. That ain't it. That ain't it. Anyway, to your point about a mandate, there is a petition on reparationsunited.org, reparationsunited.org. They're petitioning Biden to sign an executive order on reparations before he leaves office. Whether he turns it over to Kamala Harris or whether it's him, the idea is to get him to do an executive order. I highly doubt it, but it could happen. By the way, the air quality in the studio is 8, which ain't bad. 82 outside, still moderate. You can still get that quick run in without messing up your lungs too bad unless you're highly sensitive. That is according to our IQ Air Monitor and Filtration System, and it's brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580. So yeah, we can do that. We can sign that petition. There's plenty we can do. And by the way, I am encouraged to see that Congress, really the Senate in this case, seems to be working around the clock. I saw Elizabeth Warren on MSNBC talking about how, Senator Elizabeth Warren, talking about how the Republicans are slow walking the judicial nominations. I believe there are 27 of them left. These are lifetime appointments that have been already put in place by Joe Biden, and that is part of his legacy, which I think is very good and very important. Not just Ketanji Brown Jackson, but all of these other judges. The vast majority of the judges that Biden has put in place are Black, so-called minority, or women. And they are working around the clock because Republicans are trying to stop them from confirming these 28 judges. Well, these 27, I think it is. 27 judges may be part of the firewall that we have against the 12 kinds of crazy that we see forming with this new Confederate administration, this new authoritarian MAGA mess. So, good on them. And what Senator Warren said is that Democrats are actually being united in this moment in the Senate, and that they have already said they are willing to work around the clock until those 27 nominations are completed. And that means that if Republicans don't quit slow walking with all these different little procedural challenges that they have to try to keep these judges from being confirmed, that they're going to be staying in the Senate until it's done. We'll see if that holds up. But I love that spirit, the fighting spirit. Of course, Republicans want to say, well, we won the election, so you guys should stand down. But that's not what they did. That's what 45 appointed Amy Coney Barrett after he lost. That's not what they did. But that's what they want us to do. And I'm glad that Dems are not showing that weak need. You know, they're womaning up and getting it done. Let's put it that way. I'm glad to see that. And I hope it keeps going. And I love the spirit of that. Yeah, it's true, Willie Frazier. When Trump says no more judges, the Republicans listen. But for once, the Democrats are listening and trying to stand up and show that spine. Ken C. says he wants to make the people aware of Martin Luther King falling on the same day as the inauguration. Fortify yourself. Yes, some folks have been talking about that online. And Molly Bell mentioned it maybe a week ago or so in the chat. And I mean, I'm kind of for prayer on that one. There's something very ancestral about that. Maybe he'll get struck by lightning. Of course, then we'd have J.D. Vance, which wouldn't be good either. HW says they'll believe it when the judges are sitting on the bench. Well, so far the ones that they've confirmed do go to the bench. What's the GOP going to do? Line them up and shoot them? Let me not suggest that, because our president-elect would probably love that idea. But I think those are the kinds of ideas that are going to cause real problems for them. And I believe that, whoever they're able to push through the Senate right now will be seated, will be on the bench, and they may end up being the decision makers. Not that that always protects us, but certainly it can, right? If we look at what's happening right now with here in Los Angeles with Mark Ridley Thomas, where you have a Biden judge and an Obama judge on that federal appeals court on yesterday, and they're the ones asking the tough questions that may end up overturning that whole ridiculous case. So it is important, and it does mean something. Look, I've mentioned that we've had some victories around the prosecution of rogue police officers, even as we've seen this surge in officer-involved murders ever since the election, with the emboldenment of the white supremacists. And I'll talk more about that next week, because I really did not get into it the way that I thought I would, because we veered around on some other topics. But one of those is, charges being finally brought by a grand jury in the death of the murder of Frank Tyson, a Canton, Ohio man who was left face down on the floor in a social club while telling cops he couldn't breathe. Sound familiar? It is. They will face charges. And again, that's Ohio prosecutors. That wasn't even the feds. We already talked about how, because Merrick Garland seems to move like molasses going uphill in winter, many of those consent decrees that are supposed to be in works with various counties and jurisdictions will not happen. And we know what will happen under the Republican authoritarian administration. They'll just throw them out. But many prosecutors continue to, not many, but some prosecutors continue to bring charges, and juries are looking at things differently. And I believe that's because of the marching, the protesting, and the educating that we have been doing under the Black Lives Matter movement, that we have been doing under the movement for Black Lives and others. And even though, in reality, the Congress may end up passing that bill to allow the Treasury Secretary to call nonprofits, designate nonprofits as terrorist organizations and get rid of their funding and their status. The movement continues regardless. Woo! All right. It's time for the best of Tavis Smiley. Some great highlights from the week that was. And I'm going to go out the door with Malcolm X today. He says, history is a people's memory, and without history, man is demoted to the lower animals. And that's what these new Confederates want to do. They want to demote you to the lower animals. I will see you on social media, KBLA 1580 on all platforms. DiPrima Radio is mine. History is now, and we are making it together. Until next time, one love.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. President Biden says the ICC arrest warrant for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is outrageous. The International Crime Court issued warrants on Thursday for Netanyahu and his former defense secretary, accusing them of war crimes in the Gaza Strip. Los Angeles is moving closer to becoming a sanctuary city. Councilman Hugo Soto Martinez says the new ordinance prevents the city from aiding federal immigration officials. It requires a second vote and Mayor Karen Bass's signature for approval. In Daniel Penny's subway death trial in New York, the defense claims Jordan Neely did not die from the chokehold. A forensic pathologist testified that Neely's death resulted from synthetic marijuana, schizophrenia, and other factors. And a coin flip decided the final member of the Mount Clemens Community School Board in Michigan. Rashida Hammond and Alex Bronson both tied with 3,496 votes each. Hammond won the coin toss and drew the paper marked elected. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. I started Blindster in 2010 in my garage after I overpaid for new blinds. I researched the industry, hired my mom, and 14 years later, we're one of the largest retailers of custom blinds in the U.S. Don't pay too